sky, 'cause you're a sky full of stars. I wanna die in your arms.
The essence and the sound of Coldplay has somehow managed to hold true for 9 albums and counting. So thank you for allowing us to grow up with this incredible sound of hope and learning and growing. You can tell that I wrote this out. I don't want to mess it up. But what to you makes that sound so unique? Because you hear a Coldplay song and you know that it's a Coldplay song.
I think that Chris has an extraordinary ability to write melodies that are that just feel timeless, and I think that that's possibly one of the reasons why we are successful outside of English-speaking countries. Perhaps is that it's not so much there's a connection with a feeling and a melody, which I think is really special. So I think mostly it's to do with that Chris's extraordinary focus on great melodies. As the world is getting stranger and more kind of divided and more complicated, it seems, we have had this sort of notion that we want to provide some kind of service to, for ourselves, but also for the people that listen to our music and come to watch our shows. That sort of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, about trying to provide a platform where people can feel kind of together, because we're so insistent upon dividing ourselves and making ourselves different to everyone else that sometimes we forget that what is most important, and the reason why humans are so extraordinary, is their ability to collaborate and the ability to feel connected. And that's the only reason why we're so successful as a species, is that we're good with one another, and
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to promote. So that's maybe the feeling. And sometimes sometimes it doesn't always speak to everyone, and sometimes our kind of message of love and acceptance and hope falls on deaf ears. But I think we're so behind it. We love the feeling of playing on stage where people can be for 2 hours in a big crowd and just enjoy being part of something. They may not agree with their neighbors about politics or religion or anything, but we're all in the same space having a nice time, and I think that's extremely valuable at the moment.
Personally, as a fan, I think Chris's songwriting is incredible, but you have some amazing fills that are just absolutely your own. That
Well,
you go big or go home.
I try and
So
keep them to a minimum. That's my very, very stripped down in my my percussion style. I like to
very tasteful, rather.
There you
Very
go,
tasteful.
tasteful. I'll take that. Thank you.
And that leads into my next question, actually. So as the drummer, you're the backbone of the band, you're the groove, you're the heartbeat. And how do you feel like you've evolved as a musician, 9 albums in? And is there anywhere that you want to go from here?
I think that's a lovely question. I think I've certainly got better, thankfully. 25 years practice has made me into an acceptable drummer. I think that's
an exceptional drummer.
No, acceptable. There are clearly people who devote their lives to drumming, and some of the people that I've had the pleasure of watching and listening to are just exceptional technicians and just maestros at their instrument, and I definitely don't count myself as part of that. What I think that I enjoy most about what I do is being part of a group, and I'm not a particularly technical drummer. I'm not fast or overly sort of proficient at a lot of those skills, but what I feel like is I found my niche is supporting the dynamics of a song and trying to support the feeling, whatever it is. Sometimes I think my favorite bits of drumming are where I don't play for about 4 minutes, just and then just a few bars at the end, a bit of impact, a little bit of sprinkle something on the top. So I'm not everything is subservient to the song and to the feeling. So I do whatever is required, whether that's playing the same thing all the way through or not playing at all. Sometimes that's my greatest contribution, is to say, actually, I'm not going to play on this one. It's better without drums. So I think that recognizing that it's about the whole rather than the constituent parts.
Are there any sneak peek surprises that you could maybe tease for the Singapore leg of your tour?
Well, I mean, the thing, it's very hard to keep a secret in the age of social media, isn't it? Because as
It
soon as you do
really is.
something, it's all over the
Cross
place.
my heart. I won't say anything until the
No, don't
embargo has
worry. I
lifted.
know.
I promise.
I'm just saying in general, most of the things that we do are already on the internet somewhere. So, what I would say is that we always like to feel embedded in the culture of wherever we are, the musical culture. So I think wherever we can find musical inspiration, we like to celebrate that. So, wherever we go, we like to listen to a lot of the music that, local music and traditional music of wherever we are. So there's always, and we're always looking for people to come and play with us, support bands and things like that, local bands that we feel kind of express our gratitude for being to be able to come to these places. So that I would say that there's always a sprinkling of something local and something that we find exciting. So hopefully that will be the case.
So speaking of the tour, where you're focusing on sustainability, that's kind of taking the front seat for Music of the Spheres tour, from solar panels to, a tree planted for every ticket sold, and a whole slew of other commitments, which I think is amazing. But I'm curious, is there something that the band does while on tour to personally take responsibility to aid in sustainability?
Well, I think the yes, in a word, I think pretty much the way that we tried to do our bit in terms of making the touring situation more environmentally conscious and sustainable is, rather than just thinking of one massive idea that's suddenly going to shake the tree and completely change the way that everything is done, it's more to do with, in the same way that the reason we're in this situation is not because someone invented something that's terrible for the planet. It was the thousands of tiny little decisions that incrementally increase the carbon footprint, and so by that same token, we're trying to implement thousands of tiny changes that all amount to something really significant. And so every decision that we make in terms of the shows is put through that filter of, well, is this the best way we can do this? From whatever we're using on the things that we're using on stage, to the way that we power the trucks, to the way that we think about the wristbands and what they're made of, and how clean are they and how recyclable are they, and so it's just no single-use plastic water bottles at the venues. Just everything goes through that filter, and it all adds up to something quite significant. And we were aiming to cut our sort of carbon footprint by 50%, and so far we've managed to get up to about 47%, which is really fantastic. It's a huge step. Obviously there's clearly a long way to go, but I think what we're trying to do is make a lot of this technology and a lot of these ideas open for everyone to use and to borrow and to build on and to improve upon, because we're in a position that we can do this, and we really feel it's our duty to try hard, because we want other people to follow suit, and we want other people to make it better. So we're not sort of precious about it, and we're very transparent about the things that we're getting right and the things that we haven't quite perfected yet. So I think in answer to your question, pretty much everything, glass bottles instead of plastic bottles, just every little decision goes through that filter. And so that's hopefully the way that we'll start to really make significant changes.
Kiss 92, all the great songs in one place.